Hi guys, this video is all about those times we know all too well when something triggers our anxiety. I'm going to explain why describing things in this way actually causes anxiety and the one single simple change we can make to the way we talk about anxiety that can actually set us on the road to recovery. I'm Tim Box and this is why we need to stop saying that triggered my anxiety. So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, I'm Tim Box, I'm a mind coach. And for the last 12 years or so, I've been working with people to help them overcome all sorts of emotional and psychological issues, and in particular, helping people to get control of anxiety. So this video all came about because I had a week of clients a couple of months back who were all using the same terminology when talking about how they felt. They all spoke about the things that they regarded as the cause of high anxiety by using the phrase, "that triggered my anxiety." Ever since then, it's become one of those earworms that I keep hearing people say and seeing people put in their social media posts. Now I've noticed it, I can't stop noticing it. It's like that bit at the end of Star Wars where Mark Hamill accidentally calls Carrie Fisher by her real name. Once you've heard it once, it jumps out at you every time. But what's the problem? Why should the phrase, "that triggered my anxiety," be bugging me so much? So here's the thing. You never hear people say things like, "when they gave me that gift, it triggered my happiness." Or, "when we saw the sign for Disneyland, it triggered my excitement." Or, "when I heard about the upcoming exam, it triggered my concern." We say, "the gift made me happy," or "I got excited to have arrived at Disneyland," or "I became concerned about the exam." Why do we phrase things like that? Because we recognize that we're talking about an emotion that we feel, as opposed to a separate entity that lies dormant within us, waiting to be awoken. One of the big obstacles we face in coming out the other side of a period of high anxiety is that we very probably started to refer to it as something more than just an emotion that we feel. We've begun to treat it like a separate thing that has its own energy and presence, and maybe as a result started to perceive it as having its own agenda. But anxiety started out as an emotion, and our goal is to return it to that status. So sometimes we feel happy, sometimes we feel sad, sometimes we feel anxious. Anxiety becomes something more when we elevate its status in our mind and start to refer to it using different terminology. But having said all of that, I get it. Anxiety can often feel like a monster waiting to strike, and it can also feel like we don't get to decide when that might be. But whilst we didn't ask to feel this way, and certainly aren't feeling like this deliberately, it's a mistake to then conclude that we have no control over it. Referring to the idea of anxiety being potentially triggered disempowers us and treats anxiety like something that happens to us as opposed to something that we do. All the time we refer to it in this way, we reinforce any misconceptions we have that anxiety is anything other than an emotion. Now, I can feel the potential resistance that you might be feeling towards this idea right now. Trust me, I understand it's a fine line between empowering someone in the direction of change and invalidating years of their struggle. However, that line is so fine because we've only ever really heard two options on why we suffer with anxiety. It's either a genetically pre-programmed disorder that we can do nothing about, or it's something that we're doing deliberately and we're either weak or attention seeking if we indulge in it. The truth actually lies somewhere in the middle of these two stories. Anxiety is something we do as opposed to something that happens to us, yet we don't do it deliberately. We don't consciously decide to feel anxious. The part of us responsible for our emotions is our subconscious. Your subconscious is the part of you that's in charge of your emotional responses, and it's very often operating outside of your conscious control or awareness. Very often what's going on in your subconscious, if it's deemed important enough, will come into your conscious awareness, but it will very much present as something that's happening rather than something you're doing. Getting control of any emotional response, including anxiety, is all about removing confusion and conflict in the subconscious, so that the way you would consciously choose to respond is what's now happening naturally. This is why it's a bad idea to talk about anxiety like it's the monster we daren't trigger. It suggests that anxiety is malevolent. It suggests we have no control over it. And perhaps most importantly, it suggests it's something we should fear. The simple truth is that anxiety only really returns to normal levels once we stop being afraid of it. The high anxiety loop is perpetuated by the idea that anxiety is a threat. And however it needs to happen for each person, and the answer can be very specific to each individual, it's ultimately realizing that anxiety is no threat that breaks the loop. All the time we speak of anxiety like a separate condition that's triggered by various situations or circumstances, and sometimes by nothing at all, then we escalate the perceived threat, strengthen that loop, and disempower ourselves. Anxiety is an emotion, and if we improve our rhetoric when we talk about it, we start to re-educate our subconscious to stop fearing it and start getting back in control. So, as best you can when you find yourself talking about anxiety and how you feel, rather than saying, that situation triggered my anxiety, instead say, in that situation, I felt anxious. This instantly diminishes the perceived threat of that sentence by downgrading anxiety to the status of emotion rather than monster. Getting control of anxiety, having struggled with it for a long time, can seem daunting and even impossible at times. I've had clients suggest that changing their anxiety response would require a miracle, but simple steps like altering the way we refer to it can shift the way we feel about it by sending a more empowering message to our subconscious. After all, it's ultimately our subconscious that's sailing the ship here, so let's help guide the direction it takes us by giving it the right information in the right way. We're not just passengers on this journey, and we do have agency in the way we respond. Regaining control often involves re-educating ourselves and clearing away the misconceptions that held us back. The phrase, "that triggers my anxiety," is a phrase that needs to go. Guys, I hope this video has been of value. If you have any questions, then put them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer all of them. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do, and why not subscribe to the channel for weekly mind management tips and anxiety advice. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.